Welcome everyone, Crypto Rain here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Injective Protocol. And if I had to rate this one solely on the name, it probably wouldn't get good marks for me. I mean, the ticker symbol INJ, it's actually kind of boring. But when I dug deeper into this about a month ago, I saw some things I really liked. Perhaps you will too, or perhaps you'll say, not at all. So before we start, just a friendly reminder, I am no financial advisor. I'm just telling you about what I am finding, as well as some of the things that I'm interested in. And sometimes some of the things that I am completely uninterested in. As for one of the things that I'm interested in, INJ is actually right there. So what is INJ? Well, it's a fast, secure, and fully decentralized trading and derivatives protocol. In somewhat simpler terms, though not very simple still, it's a layer 2 DEX that promises decentralized derivatives and cross-chain trading, spot trading, swap trading, and futures. So in even simpler terms, if you think about what Binance does, it'll be a lot like that, but decentralized. One additional thing that Binance doesn't do that INJ is really trying to do is to allow users to create their own derivatives and create markets for those within the Injective protocol. And that's going to be interesting. So what's great about this decentralized exchange part of it, number one, they're not building on Ethereum like pretty much all the decentralized exchanges are out there, in which Ethereum has its hang-up, especially slow transaction speeds. Well, they're allowing you to be able to create your own derivatives and create markets for them, but they also, in addition to having the wallets be in your control, they're going one step further with decentralization. And it plans to allow holders to have a say in the future of the platform. That really is what true decentralization is. So as to whether that will lead to better decisions than a centralized finance, well, my guess is often it will lead to better decisions, and sometimes it won't. But in general, it has a good shot. So not only is INJ building to be much faster than all these Ethereum-based DEXs, but it's going to be an experiment in democratized exchange, allowing its users to determine the future of it. So interestingly enough, they did recently release the testnet, so you can check it out, and that's at testnet.injective.exchange, and I have it pulled up here. Whoa, I do not have it pulled up here. It's right here. So you can come to that and you can play around with it and click on some different things. You can see that they're working on the futures market. That's not available, but it'll give you a feel to be able to take it for a little bit of a test drive. Now, unlike a lot of the DEXs available right now, this is going to be built on the Cosmos SDK, or is being built on it. And what else is interesting is that the project is open source, and it's going to allow anyone to host the exchange in their own environments. This could mean multiple front ends accessing the same back end. I like that idea. Now, something else that interests me about this one is that they have strong ties to Binance. CZ over at Binance and his team are expert researchers, as well as really good at identifying future players in the industry. So when Injective went through not only Binance Labs, but also on the Binance Launchpad, I really like that. Now, when they did their Binance Launchpad sale, they sold 9% of their total supply. Particularly, those tokens were sold at 40 cents, and those early investors, they're actually seeing huge returns already. So let's take a look at the price. So when it came out here, they initially had a 2x over 2x return, and then, some of them, not very smartly, dumped it, and since then it's been steadily increasing. So in addition to this, there's some things that I like to look at when I'm evaluating whether I'm interested in something. So one of the first things I look at is the market cap. Okay, 73 million for a project with pretty good promise. That's good. That's still pretty low. Okay, circulating supply is close to 15 million when the total supply is 100 million. Here's where I get big warning signs. Warning, warning, warning. And the reason is what do I know about these and when they'll be released? Because what if a whole bunch of those get released and then they just get dumped on the market, that can be very damaging to this price in the short term. Long term, it depends on how good they do with the project, but you hate to see buying here and then it drops to a half or a third of the price when you could have got 3 times more, even if you believe in the long term. Now, thankfully, they actually have their vesting schedule released, so you can take a look at it. Now, to go look at this, if you literally Google Injective protocol token release, I think is what I did, and it token release schedule, there we go. It took me to a page within Binance, which has everything here. So now, if you look at where we're at, we're in December 2020, so they've got about 16% of the total amount trading out there, or actually a little bit under than that. And what you see is when these are going to be released. So 100% of the Binance Launchpad sale is available for trading, and it's represented here. And they also sold off some of this blue, the ecosystem development that's already out there, and they're releasing just a tiny bit of the community growth stuff. And that none of the private sale or seed sale will be able to sell until early next year, and then they'll be able to sell. That doesn't mean they will, it means they'll be able to. And so I feel like they've got full transparency on all of this, and yeah, it works pretty well for me. I feel like this is the timeline that I'm pretty interested in. So by January 2022, only about 55% of this is going to be released, possibly as much as 60%. Okay, and that currently out there is about 16%. Interesting. I like that. Okay. Another impressive thing about the INJ is their token release for the early investors and team has been locked up. So they did hit it out of the park with a very delayed release of those tokens, which will slowly be made available for trading so that the investors in us are far more, those that go ahead and buy it now, we're far less likely to be crushed by large team token releases that then dump their tokens on our heads. So, impressive ideas, impressive plans. Perhaps INJ will really take the mantle on this and lead the next generation of DEXs with much better transaction speeds and hugely increased capabilities from what we see in existing DEXs. Now, those of us who have been around, we've been around long enough to see many DEXs come in and, oh, it's going to be great, and then they don't really hit it out of the park, and they kind of fade away. So now what is interesting is while that's happened, one DEX came out of nowhere. I first used this DEX actually way before most people, because there's this non-fungible token game, which is particularly interesting in some reasons, called Axie Infinity. And you could get this item in the game and you could trade it on Uniswap far before you could trade, pretty much. It was one of the first things to trade on it. And so I actually used it pretty early and then forgot about it. But Uniswap became such an easy to use interface with so much token availability, it actually trounced all the rest of the DEXs there, even though it's so simple in its approach. And it actually passed up Binance for trading volume, which was very interesting. So as far as a DEX that's hit it out of the park, Uniswap has crushed everybody. However, Uniswap has some really big drawbacks. Number one, you can't say, well, I want to sell my token when it hits $10. You can either sell right now or not sell. Those are pretty much your options. Another thing is their transaction times are really long. So you might put it into sell right now and it could fail out before it even completes, which can be very, very frustrating. Or it could take 50 minutes to process. Depends on how much gas you put in it. So your transaction cost can be really expensive. I think my highest transaction cost I paid so far, I paid $100 once in a transaction fee to get a transaction to make sure it went through. So, an analogy I like to think about when I'm thinking about crypto and time frames for me, I think of the analogy of racehorses. Now, some of you may know that different horses perform better at different lengths on the track. The most challenging thing is picking the racehorse that will win, say, the quarter mile or the half mile or the 2 mile. Different horses excel over different timelines. So what is the racehorse that's going to do the best during the next 13 months is a question I always ask myself, because that's the timeline that I'm most interested in. I ask that question because in my mind the next 13 months are such an important timeline. In fact, the most important timeline to me over the past 2.5 years. So I don't know exactly which those horses are going to be, but I'm guessing for myself, INJ is one of those I like a lot for that timeline. So what racehorse is going to do the best in the next 30 days? That I'm really not sure. In fact, INJ has already done so well for the past while. Who knows if it keeps doing really well for the next 30 days? Is it one I would buy now and hold for 30 days? No. I don't know how high it's going to go. Maybe it goes a lot higher, but I would be looking to buy more of this myself on a retracement, because I'm really interested in what it's going to do in the next 13 months. And when I did look at this a month ago, the token economics really made sense to me. And I actually FOMO'd in at $1.70 and then watched it drop on me, which is always frustrating, but you know that happens in this. And since then, it's hit it out of the park the last week, but it did just have some big announcements, so it's been getting a lot of focus. Really, you don't want to chase large green candles in crypto, because usually large green candles are followed by some retracement, with very few exceptions to that. So is INJ one that you should be interested in the long term? Well, I don't know. That's really up to you, right? It's one that I'm interested in. And if they do well in making a very functional and fast decentralized exchange that does allow for margin trading and derivatives, they have probably a really good future ahead of them. And it will do well within the next 13 months, when most cryptos over this timeline should be doing very, very well with the coming bull market. I expect they'll probably be a better than average performer, at least that's what I'm hoping. And if I'm really lucky, they're going to be an exceptional performer. That's what I'm really hoping for. So with that said, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you like the content you're getting, I'd love it if you like the video. And if you'd like to get more, subscribe and hit the bell notifications so that you can get the videos as they come out. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.